The Brooks Launch 11, the brand's uncomplicated, lightweight, neutral daily trainer that finally becomes a true entry point into their Hyperion lineup. The Brooks Launch series has been around for over 10 years. I'm reviewing version 11 in this video. And it's always been their lightweight, neutral daily trainer, though it's not always gotten the most premium of materials, and it's always kind of been the little brother to the Brooks Ghost, which is the brand's primary daily trainer that goes across all of their lineups. But when they previewed their 2025 lineup around TRE last November, the Launch 11 got a couple big updates that now made it a really viable entry point into the Hyperion lineup from Brooks. The Hyperion series really is their performance or speed series, and they've never really had a trainer that specifically laddered into that. The Launch was kind of that many years ago, and then it kind of went down market. But now, with the introduction of the Launch 11, this really now is the start of the Hyperion series, and it's actually quite an exciting shoe. In fact, when they previewed all of their 2025 shoes, this was probably the Brooks shoe that I was most excited about, and I was really looking forward to getting it on my feet and trying it out. Starting with the specs on this shoe, we have 35 mil of foam in the heel, 27 mil of foam in the forefoot, giving you an 8 mil drop. And I will say the drop in the shoe feels 6 to 8. You do notice that there is a drop in the shoe. The shoe weighs in at 236 grams or 8.32 ounces, which makes it a fairly lightweight trainer, especially in this price range. And as you can see, my pair of these actually comes in right around the spec. So that really speaks to Brooks's build quality overall. And then the ride profile of this shoe I would describe as nimble, and I'll get more into that in the ride section of this video. Moving to the upper of this shoe, Brooks just calls this a lightweight mesh. But what I'm going to say is, while it is a very no-frills upper, it's a very solid upper. You have pretty good padding here around the ankle collar. The heel counter in the shoe is very stout, creates a very deep pocket back here for the heel. We have Brooks's speed heel collar, which is really just an Achilles flare that takes pressure off the Achilles. We have a good eyelet chain that's very simple, does the job, and decent volume in the toe box of this shoe. Again, there's nothing that's super fancy about this upper, it just works, and it works very well. Moving to sizing and fit of this shoe, I'm going to say that for my US men's size 9, which is true to size, that's what I wear in pretty much every other shoe, this shoe fits me nearly perfectly. Now my foot is neither wide nor narrow, but it is high volume because I have a high arch, and this shoe gives me the exact fit that I want in a shoe like this. And I would consider that a performance fit. Meaning it gives me the snugness of a race fit, but the comfort and the plushness of a training fit. It's right in between those two fits. But something to keep in mind if you are a Brooks runner is that this shoe is more narrow than I'm used to in a typical Brooks fit, especially here in the forefoot. As I said, I would consider this more of a performance fit. More importantly though, for I think a lot of Brooks runners, if you're used to running on Brooks because you want to swap out your own insole or third-party orthotic, this shoe may be a little problematic because the volume in the upper is lower than a lot of Brooks. Again, it's a performance fit. But the last isn't the typical straight last that you see in a lot of Brooks. So getting your orthotic in here should be okay. It's just going to be something to keep an eye on as you're trying it out. But again, if you can get what you need in the inside of the shoe as far as your orthotic or insole, it's going to be a great fit, just more on the snug size, performance oriented. Moving to the midsole of this shoe, we have a full-length DNA Flash midsole with a very traditional geometry, but there is a small puck of DNA Flash V2 in the forefoot of this shoe, and that makes this shoe feel a little bit more aggressive off the toe. It just tips forward a little bit on toe off because of that softer foam that's under the forefoot, and you just get a little sort of pop off the toe. It's not huge, it's not massive, but it's enough that you actually do notice it. And it, I think, works really well, especially if you like a firm cushion ride, which this shoe is. And ending on the outsole of this shoe, we have Brooks's Road Track rubber on this. Now, my experience with Brooks outsoles is that they tend to wear very, very quickly. And I'm going to say that this one feels very different from any other Brooks outsole that I've ever run in, where it feels more tacky. It's actually squeaky when you're running in it. And I'm seeing absolutely no wear in this shoe. Now, I only have about 35 kilometers in this shoe. That's not a lot. I'll talk about why in the ride section. but I'm seeing absolutely no wear, not even a smoothing of the material underfoot. So this Road to Track rubber is a huge upgrade. It's tacky, it's grippy. I like this outsole pattern. I like the rubber coverage of it. I think it's a great outsole. This is one that you're going to get a lot of use out of across a lot of different surfaces. So what's the ride like in this shoe? Well, I was quite excited to try this shoe out. Now, a lot of people last year were recommending the Brooks Hyperion 2 to me, and it is a shoe that I looked for, but I just could not find it. It just was not here in Taiwan until I went to buy this shoe, and now the Brooks Hyperion 2 is here. So I did get to finally try on the Brooks Hyperion 2 and actually run it on the treadmill. That's the advantage of being the sample size. And I will say that the Launch 11 feels a lot like the Hyperion 2 to me. However, it's a little bit wider in the forefoot, it's a little bit taller, and the upper is a little bit more plush. And you do notice the less weight of the Hyperion 2, which is a much more performance shoe, so that makes sense. But there's a lot of Hyperion DNA in this shoe, and that's one of the big changes with the geometry, the midsole foam, and really this update for the Launch 11 is that this now becomes truly that trainer or entry point into Brooks's Hyperion lineup, which is their performance or speed series. And I will say that I noticed that when I put this out for my first 2 runs in it, I just really enjoyed it. As I've already pointed out, it's a firm cushion ride, which I like, but for kind of easy into steady, what you would call steezy pace, this shoe was great. I was feeling the softer foam in the forefoot. Again, it's not super present, but you do notice a little bit of a falling forward feeling on toe off in the shoe, but not like a heavily rockered shoe, which I don't really like training in heavily rockered shoes. So this is kind of a really nice blend, but for that kind of easy into steady, steezy pace, this was just great. Picking it up into true steady, getting into the borderline threshold pace, this was great. Just a really, really fun shoe that was easy to go from easy pace into threshold, and it just did everything really well. That is until my third run in this shoe. Now, on the third run in this shoe, I actually went out for about a 14-kilometer run. Again, that's about my normal run nowadays because I'm not doing any high volume. And in that run, I picked this shoe up into half marathon and 10K pace. And it did it really, really well. I was actually surprised how easy this shoe was to get up into half marathon pace and push even faster and get to 10K pace. And it felt great. I went out, I enjoyed that run. It was really impressed. I think even on Strava, I mentioned that this shoe is impressive and it's very, very smooth. And that's exactly what I felt when I was on that run. However, by that afternoon, my legs and feet were completely trashed. And by the next morning, I had so much soreness in my legs that it was quite painful. In fact, I took the Pegasus Premium out for a 16K run the next day just to work out all the soreness in my feet. I found very quickly that DNA Flash is not the foam for me. I do not respond to DNA Flash. I like the performance of it, but now as a Masters runner, I need to really pay attention to recovery, and this foam completely beats up my foot. Now, that's a big surprise to me because I have run a lot in Brooks's DNA Loft foam, which is another supercritical EVA foam, which is what DNA Flash is. And I've had no problem with DNA Loft. It doesn't beat up my legs. I wouldn't call it a responsive foam, but it's soft, it's cushy. I recover very well from it. But DNA Flash, wow, it beats my legs up to the point where I don't think I'll use this shoe very much anymore because of just how brutal DNA Flash is on my legs. Now, if I keep the run kind of easy and steady, steezy pace, under 10K, it's a great shoe. The problem is I have a ton of other shoes that can do that. So this shoe's not one I'm going to be reaching for. And as fun as this shoe was to pick up the pace and get into half marathon and 10K pace, the problem is with a performance trainer, which this is kind of borderline on that, in 2025, you're going to have to compare with this shoe, the Adidas Evo SL. And as much as I prefer the geometry and fit of this shoe, this is a better shoe all around as far as performance and feel on foot. This isn't really a fair comparison because I think the Evo SL technically is going to compare more directly to the Hyperion 3, which is a shoe I'll be covering on this channel. But in 2025, since the Evo SL is so capable of so many things, I would really call this a performance trainer. And when I put the Launch 11 on my foot, this is the fit that I expected this shoe to have, but just doesn't. My biggest problem with the Outsole is the fit of this shoe. If I could get the fit of this shoe with the geometry of this shoe, with the midsole foam of this shoe, game over. I don't think I would need another trainer to run in. Unfortunately, DNA Flash is not Lightstrike Pro Classic, so Brooks doesn't make that, though maybe there'll be some other options later this year. So as fun as this shoe is to run in, it's not one I'm going to spend a lot of time in. Now, if you've run a lot in DNA Flash and you know it works well for you, you know it treats your legs okay, I think this is a great option. There's a lot of value for money in this shoe. It's a very well-built shoe. I actually think it's a great looking shoe. I love all the Hyperion sort of design language in this shoe. Finally, this shoe connects directly into a series for Brooks, and I think it's really good. Now, I don't have any versus videos planned for this shoe immediately. However, over the course of 2025, I will be comparing this shoe to a couple of the key daily trainers that are yet to come out this year. So you will see this on the channel again this year. And I will take it out occasionally, probably keeping it under like 6 to 10K, somewhere in there. Just to kind of stay connected to the shoe, because it is a fun shoe to run in. I actually do like it. I just wish the foam didn't beat my legs up as much as it did. And as I mentioned in this video, I will be covering the Hyperion 3 this year, and I might cover the Hyperion Elite 5. I don't know. We'll see when that shoe actually comes out. But as far as my excitement for this shoe, I think it's a great shoe. I just wish the foam worked a little bit better for my feet. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you find this content useful, consider subscribing. You'll see more content from me pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.